Hey guys, F1-26 here, and welcome back to Highlights of the F1 League, and we are then here for round number 11 of Season 5 here around the Hungaroring, the track where I took my first win in the F1 League last season, so we'll be hoping to repeat that result today to try and gain some ground in the Championship after what was a very disappointing result last time out in Silverstone due to us being an idiot and getting a drive-through, which now means Azar Reactions is 16 points ahead of us in the Championship, and the Silent Mole 45 is 3 points ahead of us. So, as you can see on our qualifying lap now, it's been a reasonable first sector. Not amazing, but it'll be reasonable. Yeah, good vocabulary there. But as you can see, Casey's just put an absolute banging lap, which will be very difficult to beat unless I literally match my quick race personal best. But our pace has been good. We've taken that chicane quite well, and there's lots of time to be gained here in the middle sector. On our previous lap, we've taken that all right. Not the greatest line. Probably a bit more speed we could have taken through there, but at this point I'm concentrating on not getting invalidated and putting in a decent lap. Once again, just running a bit too wide on the curb there, which unsettled the car. But as you can see, we're only 0.017 down on Casey through the middle sector. But obviously, Sector 3 is the traction control sector, so we're probably going to lose a little bit of time in here due to the fact that traction control is just OP. Even though maybe we haven't had the best sector, but it's been alright, and it's going to be a 1 minute 19.9, which is going to put us in second. But as you can see, James F1 etc. managed to just beat us there, meaning it was a James 1-2-3 in qualifying with Casey on pole, James F1 in second, myself in third, Luke just missing out on top 3 after CK decided to talk to him during his lap, which then resulted in CK being kicked from the party. Camundo in P5 on the softs, Azar Actions in P6 also on the softs. Then Sam, my teammate, and Jork, who's new for this race, also on the softs in 8th. You can see the rest of the grid there, and we will now move on to the race. So, as you can see, we're here on the grid, and that is the strategy the game is providing. And once again, it's basically got it right, apart from the fact that we need to be switching around those medium and soft stints, in my opinion. And that's most likely what we will do today. So, yeah, not much to talk about. It's looking fully dry for this race, so no impact from the weather. But the issue that once again occurs, just like last week, is the people who qualified on the softs can do a one-stop. Obviously, you're not going to lose as much time on the two-stop as you would around Silverstone because the pit lane is a lot shorter around here. But I think the one-stop may just be the faster strategy despite that. So it's not going to be ideal for us in terms of strategy, but we're going to try and make it work to the best of our ability to try and win this race. And here we start the formation lap then, and James Casey leads us off. James F1 decided that he didn't want to go anywhere, but yeah, a formation lap. As usual, a bit of bants just occurring as we head down towards turn 1 here, and formation lap. Not particularly useful in the dry, to be honest. In the wet it actually is, because you can test your braking points, but in the dry you pretty much know what you're doing. So, coming to the end of it now, Casey has led us round towards the grid, and now the game has taken over, and we will pull round the final corner towards our grid slot any moment now, where we will wait for about 6 years, because as you can see, there's someone going extremely slowly on the mini-map, and they are in the chicane at the moment, so that's always good. But we pull up onto our grid slot behind Casey and alongside James, who's actually been kicked off, and now we wait. Yeah, we'll be like, yeah, there we go. Now we have the lights. We have 3 lights. We have 4 lights. Now we have 5 lights, and it's lights out, and away we go. But we've got a lag start there. We've almost killed Casey, and we've had to lift off the throttle to avoid him. Luke is coming alongside us as he's managed to easily avoid the other James, who was starting second. He's going to be up the inside into turn 1. Absolute carnage occurring at the start there. Luke's going to take the lead, I think, into turn 1, and indeed he does. So Luke leads from myself in second, and Pepsi, who probably also had a lag start, is now up to third, and Casey down in fourth. There was a bit of carnage at the back. I think Azar and Sam lost their wings, so that's not ideal for them, but obviously that's good for us. Azar out of contention, so here we go. The lights go out, I accelerate. At this point I realise Casey's not going. You can see my throttle. I have to lift off there to avoid him, and then I have to wait before I can apply the throttle. Luke managed to go around James a lot more easily, as you can see, looking behind there, seeing absolute carnage unfolding. We've survived, and Luke survived, which is good for us, because obviously we can gain a lot on Azar, as we see, skipping on to lap 3 now. Still sticking with Luke as we come down into turn 1 there, stopping it nicely. Pepsi's pace was also very good, and he was sticking with us in the DRS there. We've managed to just get DRS on Luke, and it's going to be pretty much the same situation as it was in Silverstone, I believe, for this first stint. Us just keeping in touch with Luke via the DRS, so I probably won't show you too much of it. And just one more, skipping to the end of lap 4, once again keeping the gap just under a second, so we get DRS, and the same with the gap to Pepsi behind, although bear in mind the gap may be slightly inaccurate this time around due to the fact there was a lag start. So yeah, now skipping to lap 7, it is our pit stop lap. However, Luke has been EA'd by his teammate Casey, who even with traction control can't make the tyres last to lap 8. So Luke's going to have to do another lap, and is going to have to suffer the undercut from myself and Pepsi, who follows me in, as we now slow down for the line. We've been a bit too cautious there, but after last week I wasn't taking any chances with the speed limit line, and at this point I knew, I was saying in the party, Pepsi is going to jump me here, and as you will see in a minute, I was right. So there we go, coming into the pits, we get the tyres changed, but we are now behind the Sauber, who's actually gone onto the soft tyres. So that's much less than ideal, I'll be honest, but whatever, he's on the soft tyres, he's probably going to get past us anyway. It saves us time from battling on track now as we head out the pit lane. But the question is, where will we come out in relation to Luke? I'm almost certain Pepsi will jump him on the soft tyres, but will I be able to jump him on the mediums? We'll have to wait and see as we come through turn 2 there. We've luckily got some clean air, unlike Casey, who's got stuck behind Hamilton fan, which is disastrous because he will try and fight you. Anyway, skipping to the end of lap 8, where is the silent mom? He's coming out the pits there, and I think he's going to hold the position on both of us. That is extremely impressive if he can. He's going side by side with Pepsi into turn 1. Pepsi's got the outside line. Will he have the drive on the soft tyres? Indeed he does, and Pepsi does actually manage to take what is effectively the race lead. Luke wants, also like us, going onto the mediums, and that is what we're going to have to do for this middle stint. Maybe work together like in Silverstone, if we can, to try and keep up with Pepsi, and then we'll have to re-overtake him in the last stint as we come through the fast left-hander at the start of sector 2 there. So at this point I was hoping that I could keep with Luke, because he's got a bit of a bigger gap than I'd like. I'd like to be reasonably close behind him, tucked up under his gearbox for this one, and as you can see we managed to close up in the middle sector. There's a bit of lag there, don't want any of that to be happening as we come through that right-hander towards this flat left-hander, and Luke decides that he wants to go lawn mowing there. That's going to give him a whole lot of understeer through this left-hander. There's no point trying up the inside into the third to last corner, as it would just waste our time, to be honest. But yeah, Camundo currently in the lead on the one stop, and Warden is also on the one stop, as well as CK, but we'll probably catch CK. His pace wasn't as good, I don't believe. So coming to the end of lap 9 now, I suspect Pupro Pepsi will set the fastest lap of the race. Actually, no, he doesn't, because he's battling with Luke. But anyway, hopefully we will skip ahead now to where something interesting happens, as James F1, etc., who's also gone on the softs behind us, does set the fastest lap of the race, as Sam is in the pit lane for his second stop of the race after having to pit at the end of lap 1. Anyway, skipping to lap 11 now, we're on a green lap, but we've what's good is that we've kept up with Luke and Pepsi, who's now battling CK, as we get a bit of sparks there. CK on the one stop is obviously effectively battling us for position, and he's going to take that. I've gone up the inside of Luke, I've backed out there. That's probably a good thing. CK's gone spinning, Luke's gone spinning, and absolute mayhem has occurred there. I'm not particularly sure what went on, and we managed to come out on top of it with no damage. Only 12 seconds behind Warden now, which we're going to have to try and close down, but we need to have a look at what happened at the final corner once again in a slow motion replay. So hopefully we'll get a look at that in a moment. And as you can see, I was going side by side with Luke, but I realised that was a pointless idea, so I backed out the corner early. As you can see, Pepsi and CK make contact. CK goes spinning, Pepsi goes towards the pit wall, he clips it, comes back across the track, clips Luke. I apply the brake, but still just touch Luke there, and Luke's gone into a spin. I don't think I affected his spin, I think he was going into that anyway, but that is very unfortunate for the silent mole there. He also got damage from that, and that is pretty much his race ruined there. As we skip to the end of lap 15, Camundo, who started on the softs, is doing a one stop for the third week in a row, and we move up to second on the mediums. And at this point I was wary of the undercut for him on the fresh mediums, and then especially when Warden came in for the fresh softs, the undercut was going to be extremely powerful. But I was closing on Warden rapidly, I'm not going to lie, I've got the gap down to around 4 or 5 seconds at this point. As you can see, Camundo setting the fastest lap, and this is what I was worried about. He's lapping like around a second a lap quicker than what I am at the moment, and even though we had got that gap down a little bit, he's going to be quite far ahead as we when we come into the pits at the end of lap 22 or 23. As you can see, lap 19, the gap is now 3.3 seconds, but Warden is now going to bail out 4 sets of the soft tyres to take 16 laps to the end, which he should easily manage, and it's going to be a difficult one for us if we're going to win this race, but we're going to give it our best shot. We shouldn't have any traffic to contend with in terms of other cars like Pepsi and Luke, which we would have had without them crashing out there. So it should be just us all the way to the finish, pushing to hunt down these guys as we now take the lead of the race for the first time, and this is where we'll be hoping to be in 16 laps time when we come to finish the race. But yeah, skipping on to lap number 22, coming into turn 1. Our pace has been reasonable. These tyres are starting to go, but I want to do one more lap to make sure I can push on the softs all the way to the end, as Warden now bangs in the fastest lap. So this is the issue I was having. Warden is catching Camundo, so what I'm hoping is they can have a bit of a battle, which will help me catch up when I come into the pits. Talking of coming into the pits, end of lap 23 is pit stop time for myself and Casey Legend, who will both be going onto the soft tyres for the end of the race, as we now pull into the pit lane there, trying to take it nicely. Try not to speed this time, which we don't do. And we're going to have a quick look at the race director, see what penalties people have. Camundo has a penalty there, and another warning to go with it. As does Warden, he also has a penalty. So at this point it's looking good. All we have to do is finish within 3 seconds of those guys, and we get the win here. We've had a decent pit stop, but oh no, it's Matt Tucson, guys. Matt Tucson, who's almost a lap down, who's come out just ahead of us. I believe he had an incident with Sam. Hopefully he'll get nicely out of the way and allow us to pursue after the leading pair, and indeed he does. So thank you for Hamilton fan if you are actually watching this video, which I highly doubt because no one watches my videos. But yeah, that's not the point. We're in P3 and the gap to Warden is 7 seconds with however many laps it is to go. I can't remember. With 10 laps to go now, and I reckon I can do that, as the gap is effectively only 4 seconds due to the fact that he has a penalty. So we need to see if we can close this gap down. As you can see, skipping to the end of lap 25. What is the gap now? We set the fastest lap of the race. I'm not going to zoom in on the gap, and I can't see it because my screen's so small, but you might be able to see it. And I think obviously we will have closed some kind of margin because we set the fastest lap. But as you can see at the top, Camundo has now dropped to P2, so that means Warden has taken the lead on the fresher, softer tyres, and if he has the pace now, he might go off into the lead as we have to negotiate Camundo. It's not going to be easy for us to take the win here, but second should easily be on the cards as we skip on to lap number 32 now. The pressure has been applied, as that's an interesting line. You didn't see that. As you can see, Camundo just ahead and Warden a couple more seconds up the road, so we're going to have to really push if we want to win this one. As we can see, lap 33, we've got the gap to under 2 seconds to Camundo. We are closing in on this position 2 here, and it should only be a matter of time before we take it. But we've come out the penultimate corner, we spun it, we lost the back end there, we've hit the wall, and that was something I really wasn't expecting. Just a random loss of the back end, something that I shouldn't really have, to be honest. I was very surprised when it happened, maybe due to the tyre wear, but we have lost a lot of time to Camundo there and got damaged, so surely that could be GG, but I reckon we can still get the gap under 3 seconds, and Camundo's helped it himself by spinning there. At the time I thought he had a puncture, but he's only spun. We're going to go up the inside into the third last corner, not wasting any time. Warning collision with Camundo, and we've got stuck together. I thought that was probably my fault, so I'm going to let him back through there. No point getting a stupid penalty over that and dropping behind Casey, so we let the Williams driver back through here. But we've only got one lap. Warden's absolutely done one. He's going to win this race, so congrats to him on his second win in the league. But we're now fighting for P2. Technically we don't have to finish ahead of Camundo because he has penalties, but obviously it looks better if we do. So he's going defensive on the pit straight. We're going to try and have a look around the outside into turn 1 later on the brakes now. Have to squeeze him to the apex there. Can we get the hook round the outside? No, we can't. Camundo's actually got a better exit. We're going to not really duck back into Citroen, up the inside into turn 2. And we're going to get it stopped here just about side by side through the corner. And we head through turn 3 now. Can we keep it in flat here? No, we're going to have to lift off. We probably lift off more than necessary, and Mundo now has that position. So we weren't quite able to get past there, and there's not really going to be any more opportunities unless he makes a mistake here unless we can try an extremely optimistic move into the chicane, but there's no point trying that. I know he has a penalty, and I'm not going to try something that could get myself taken out. So we'll probably just sit behind him unless he makes a mistake or his tyre blows up or something, and we will happily take position 2 here due to his penalty. As we're going very slowly to the fast right-hander there, the gap to order must be extremely large at this point, as we now head down towards the third to last corner for the final time. Just 2 corners left in this race now, and we will come home to take what is effectively P2 here. Casey Legend's actually really close behind us, and he might actually have come in on penalties as well. Warden's won the race, so congrats to him. We've got 1 corner left. We've negotiated that nicely. We're going to get on the DRS, and we're going to come across the line for what is second place due to penalties here at the Hungarian Grand Prix. Not quite the win I was hoping for, but due to my championship rivals results of Azar only finishing in 5th and Luke finishing it all the way down in 11th, the championship is now significantly closer between me and Azar. I think the gap is only 7 points. 7 points, I believe. Don't quote me on that though. The results on screen there: Warden taking the win by 7 seconds to myself, with Casey a further 2 seconds back, and then Mundo in 4th, and Azar Actions in 5th, and I think it was James F1 etc. in 6th, with Peeper Pepsi in 7th. Jork 8th on his debut, which is a good result after the lap 1 carnage. 9th CK the Flying Stop on the 1 stop, and Jordan Gibbs rounding out the points. So yeah, not the most exciting race this week unfortunately, but still a good result nonetheless, and I'll see you next time for what will be most likely a very exciting race due to the slipstream on this game around the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium. Thanks for watching guys, I'll see you then. Goodbye.